Good evening, everybody. Hey. Bit more energy? Good evening, everybody. Excellent. It's always a hard one, isn't it? Being the first act. So, how many of you are in technical roles? Just for me to understand what sort of audience we have. So, everybody is in technical role. Excellent. And how many are you're actually actively working in AI development or associated roles? A lot of you. Great. Thank you. Thank you for the participation. So my name is Gurpreet, and currently at the moment we are building a platform for responsible AI, or the future vision, which is autonomous AI governance, where we want to bridge this gap between AI innovation and AI adoption through technology, where AI enables you to scale AI, monitor AI, govern AI. That's what we are doing at Altrum AI. Grab me after the talk afterwards during networking if you are more curious about this, and we can talk more in depth. I have my colleagues with me, our CTO as well, so anybody wants to go more technical into it, we can go and do that as well. So let's jump into this talk. So what I'm going to cover is, I'm going to go through this idea of where we are currently, especially considering what's happened in the last couple of years, and why generative AI risk is different when compared to the AI risk that we've known before. Then the three phases of generative AI risks, I've divided that into three categories. We'll look at that. And I'll give a framework that I have, which is quite a simple one, to think in 4 layers around AI, generative AI risk management. And then we'll take a sneak peek at where we are heading in next 12 to 24 months, where we are heading, what's going to happen, how things are going to consolidate over the next 12 months to 24 months. And then time permitting, we'll have time for Q&A as well. Again, at the end of the talk or later on during networking, do grab me, we can have more engaging conversation. So, what's happening with generative AI, or where we are in this space at the moment currently, it's not new. We have had many revolutions throughout our history, human history. So 1870s, railroads, connected cities, connected continents, and that transformed, then brought the Industrial Revolution. And then we had the internet, publicly available internet from 1995, which brought in the digital revolution from there. And then we had the moment in November 30th of November 22, when ChatGPT was launched. And I've just mentioned 23 because that's where most of the public became aware and started using it. There was almost like a gold rush. Everybody wanted to start using it. It's a magical tool, and it's the very first time there is AI where you can create using it without being a developer. That's the difference, big difference in generative AI. Previously, AI limited to tech people working with technology and AI. Generative AI is the first form of AI where non-technical people, it could be a business person, it could be a student, it could be a technical person as well, or a marketing, anybody and everybody is using it. That's the biggest difference, and they are using to create. And the language that is used is our language, simple English. That's the beauty of it, that's the strength of it, but that brings its own challenges as well. So what is this challenge? What is this chasm that we are seeing? So generative AI innovation, every day we hear, if you are on LinkedIn, you will see all these updates. If you follow various platforms online, you will see new models being launched every day. There's so much talk around agentic AI. There's so much happening in this space. So, and the other side is the enterprise adoption of generative AI, which is kind of slow at the moment. If you are involved in that end, you will see that a lot of enterprises have gone into where they rushed and they started developing their generative AI use cases. But when it came to productionizing it and using it at scale, that's where most of the projects are failing. There's a big gap there between this innovation and adoption. That's a chasm. And one of the biggest reasons for that is this lack of appropriate Gen AI governance and risk management tooling and solutions in this space. Whatever we have used in the past is not suitable. Why is that? Why is it not suitable? Because the traditional AI and generative AI are completely opposite. Let's look at some of the reasons there. So traditional AI is deterministic. You train it on a bunch of data. You can make predictions using it. If you ask the same question, you will always get the same answer. It's deterministic, batch-based, control pipelines, experts use. You guys are from tech background, so I don't need to preach you on these. Again, more time we can spend talking about some of these things. But one of the last points there, expert users. This is where the AI experts were using and building this technology. So that's the traditional AI. But with generative AI, it's probabilistic. What does that mean? You can give it the same prompt, and it can give you two perfectly right answers, but completely different for the same prompts. So how do you manage and control the risk around that when you don't know what the output is going to be? You can't predict the output. Then there is this concept of real time, which comes with generative AI. In real time, whenever you're submitting a prompt, whenever you're getting a response, everything is happening in real time, and the risk is happening in real time with every prompt and every response. It's quite open-ended. And the last one, again, from expert users to everyone. Everybody's using this technology within the enterprise, from CEO down to the customer service representative. Everybody's using it. How do you manage the risk around it? So the playbooks that we used in the past, MLOps and so forth, that's not designed for this technology. That's not designed for probabilistic outputs, where one right answer, instead of getting one right answer, you can get infinite possible conversations now. The user base is huge when compared to what the user base we had 3 years back in terms of the AI world. Now everybody is interacting with AI and using AI. And then the models, as I touched upon earlier as well, the speed at which the innovation is happening, whether it is coming from China, from America, it's a lot happening in India as well now. So there's this pace, the breakneck pace at which we are exposed to this new technology. How is an enterprise meant to build a system around adopting it safely, securely, and compliantly? Because whether they want it or not, they still have to comply with the regulations. Whether they want it or not, they are responsible for whatever data they are feeding into these models. And whether they are the ones who have built these models, or whether they are the ones who are just deploying it or just using it, they are the ones who are responsible for it. So big challenges and big difference when compared to what we have known with AI and AI risk management in the past. Now, the 3 phases of generative AI risk, let's look at the 3 big categories. So the security risks, prompt injections, all of you must have heard about this. And it's a very common occurring theme at the moment, like on e-commerce websites where people are using chatbots. Through prompt injection, people are exposing and getting free coupon codes, getting big discounts from there. If you have not built in that risk management piece into it, so the companies who are taking any shortcuts, they are suffering. And it's not just small players, it's companies like Google as well. We have seen this news. We have seen in news around when somebody used, a lawyer in US tried to use ChatGPT to make their submissions into the court, and this ChatGPT came up with some old cases which were just fabricated. So generative AI is very good at giving you information which sounds factual, but it is not factual. So that's a huge risk. So ethical risks around harmful and biased outputs that can come from these models. Not that they intend to do that, but because these are like black boxes, these have been trained on huge amount of data from everywhere possible. So all sides of online platforms from everywhere. So if there is bias in the data, it can show up in the output as well. And if somebody is within an enterprise is using this model and they use the output of this model, and if it contains that bias and toxicity, the organization is exposed to that risk. So you have to manage that, and that also in real time. And the last one is the operational risk. Now, all developers, technical resources, this is the biggest one where you are involved. So model drift, data drift, you might have heard about these, but prompt drift is a new one. So if you have created an application where you have built these prompts into it, and then after 6 months, the model has gone through a drift because models being updated almost every day, sometimes without you knowing it as well. The prompt that generated a good response in January may not give you the right response now in July. So that's another factor you have to consider when you're trying to manage the risks around generative AI. And then observability. So you need to be able to observe all these interactions in real time that are happening with the LLMs with generative AI. So that doesn't exist. The tooling doesn't exist at the moment. So how do we tame generative AI? How do we manage this risk? So four key layers. The first one is, the basics. Bake all your checks into your CI/CD pipeline early on. Start pre-deployment. Start there. Scan your models for vulnerabilities, and not just once, regularly. Then you have to perform analysis on all your prompts. Now, I'm not going into more detail into prompts. You know that prompts are so many different types. So system prompts and meta prompts and so many things in there. Have a system around that. Now the problem with some of these things is every company is trying to do this at their own pace, in their own way, which is whether it is scalable or not, how relevant it remains, because it needs to be maintained and looked after quite regularly. So it's a huge challenge around that, especially with the changing and evolving regulations. The second one is the continuous validation, which is your real-time input-output testing of generative AI models. Use synthetic data to find flaws in the models. So if you are using any of the foundational models, if it's a model which you have not trained yourself within your organization with your own data, then you need to make sure there are no flaws in that model. Then you have to build and use a policy-driven gateway. What do I mean by that? So gateways are not new concept, but AI gateway is kind of new now. A lot of companies doing that. We have built our own AI gateway within Altrum platform as well, which allows you to connect to all different LLM vendors and at scale, and then monitor everything in real time through the platform. So this is where the compliance teams, the CISO, the CRO, they are saying we need to monitor for all the security risks, all the safety risks, everything in real time, and also maintain compliance against all the regulations, whether it is the upcoming EU AI Act, whether it is something new, whether it is the regulations. We always think about regulations as the AI Acts, but actually companies still have to comply with GDPR. If they are using generative AI, they still have to comply with FCA regulations if they are in financial services. So thinking from that perspective, having policies, configurable policies at that level, in the gateway level, across all your generative AI use cases is an important solution that you need to have in place, whether you decide to build it yourself or find a partner for it. Integrated governance. So governance should not be an afterthought. Governance should be integrated throughout the entire AI pipeline, from ideation phase to production. So it should be considered at each and every step. Then control access to data and prompts. So there are quite a few tools. Again, Databricks provides their own tooling. There are quite a few tools available in the market. You might build your own process around this again. So who controls and accesses the data in LLM, and especially the prompts, because that's what's generating the output there, isn't it? So how do you manage who gets access to what and who can make what changes in there is very, very important to consider. And then mirror the policies in generative AI apps. So internal policies that your organization has, you have to mirror those in your Gen AI apps as well. So you need to have a system for that mirroring. And the last one is around red teaming and observability. So red teaming, an example where I know a team, they were doing red teaming testing on an e-commerce platform on their chatbot, and they were very easily able to make it divulge a credit card that was stored in there. It's quite straightforward, actually, if you don't have put the right solutions in place already. Observability is a big thing. It's a compliance, big part of compliance. All regulations, especially EU Act mandates, you should have real-time monitoring available around all your AI, whether it's something you have built and deployed or you're just using even ChatGPT in the browser. You need to have observability and monitoring available around that. So those 4 layers, important. And let's take a quick look at where we are heading beyond where we are now. So what's going to happen very soon is in next 24 months is that AI security is going to become a big discipline in itself. So at the moment, it usually sits within various other functions, but then it's going to become its own discipline in itself. You will see specialized tools. So Altrum AI being one of those ones in this space. There are other companies building tools around in this space, vendors, and then new job titles as will emerge. So it's an exciting space. If you have not looked into it, I will encourage you to look into this. There is a huge demand for these skills in the market. Companies don't have trained engineers who are capable of, who understand the generative AI risk well and the solutioning around it. The rise of smaller models. So beyond the foundational models, more and more smaller specialized models trained on specific data, which minimizes your risk, give you more accurate responses as well. So that's going to become more and more popular. Also, it's inefficient to use large models for every task. So smaller models will become a big thing. And the real-time regulation of AI is something which is already in progress. As I said, companies do using guardrails, but what's going to happen is it's all going to consolidate into few key players because there has to be some standardization that has to take place across industries in order to companies be able to confidently use these layers in their AI when they are developing and be able to do that at scale as well. So what I believe is that this race, in this AI innovation and adoption race, the winners won't be the ones who are fastest to adopt. A lot of companies have tried doing that, but they will be the ones who move fast, but move fast with the right guardrails in place. So it's an important factor to consider. Thank you.